One of the things I used to hate about my applicant tracking systems is the business process that they made me follow never really fit how I wanted to do it, and there was no automation really built in that I could control. I'm going to show you how we solve that on today's episode. Hey everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Salesforce for Recruiters. I'm your host as always, Brad Owens, and I was just like you. I spent 10 plus years in the recruiting world using various pieces of technology that never really fit what I wish they could do. And then I saw Salesforce and I went, where has this been all my life? So since then, I've dedicated my career to helping both Salesforce and the recruiting world understand what this platform can truly do for recruiting. And on today's episode, I want to dig into what used to be one of my big bugaboos. Every single time I tried a new ATS, I had to conform my business process to kind of how the ATS was set up. That used to always rub me the wrong way. If I'm investing in a piece of technology to support my business, how can my business be reflected in your technology? I want to run things a certain way. I want to automate certain parts of this process. How can I find then an ATS that'll help me do those things? And I'm going to show you today how we can get around that inside Salesforce and how we solve that problem specifically with the Asymbl ATS. So if you want to follow along, it's asymbl.com where you can find out more about this ATS. But I'm going to show you one of the key features that made me realize, oh, this is how recruiting should be. Let's take a second and define this problem a little bit more in depth. So when I used to recruit for a number of different companies all across the United States for different hiring managers, hiring for different types of positions. And every single time that hiring process would be a little different. Maybe they'd want to have a single phone interview and then 2 in-person interviews, and then that was it. Maybe they wanted to have a panel interview followed by a phone interview and then an in-person interview. They just were always different in what they wanted. But my applicant tracking system at the time was set up in such a way where I could have a shortlist feature, and then I could have an interviewing feature, and then an offer feature, and then a placement feature. That was it. That never really fit how these companies wanted to recruit. So every single time I had someone new come into my business or a new recruiter sit in a seat, they wouldn't understand what processes this company needed us to follow and how our specific business process would flow through this system. Everything just had to be kind of passed around in word of mouth of how we wanted to do things. Sometimes we'd have extra spreadsheets set up to be able to track these things. Sometimes we'd have different lists just in a document somewhere to track these things. But it was really, really difficult to reflect all these different hiring processes in our ATS to keep everything in a single system. So along comes the Asymbl ATS and their idea of what's called ATS templates. And we're going to get in depth on that. Welcome inside my recruiting environment inside of Salesforce, and I'm using the Asymbl ATS. With the Asymbl ATS, you get this idea of ATS templates, and I want to show you what these can truly be. Here on my job where I'm hiring for a project manager, you can see that I've got a drag and drop Kanban view down here where it has my stages that I want to take people through on this particular job. You can see I start at their application, and then I take them through internal review, and then I submit them to the client, and then I send them on an interview, and then they might get an offer. This is a very generic type of interview setup, but I want to show you how we can build these today. And this specifically is an ATS template that I just called Perm Placement. And when I go to this ATS template here, I want to show you the 3 major things that an ATS template is. First, it's the stages that you want to take someone through. So here you can see the stages that I've set up specifically for this, whether it's type of job or company that we're hiring for. These are the stages that we're taking them through. Second, it's the automations that you want to have happen at these stages. So if I were to expand these, you can see that there are actions that are happening at each one of these stages. And these stages will be completely automated. So when I drag someone to the stage of internal review, or I drag them to the stage of client submittal, automations will trigger in the background. I'm going to take you in depth on those as well. And then third, an ATS template is the set of assignment criteria that makes sure that when you create a new job of this type, all of these stages and automations are created. And I'm going to go through assignment criteria more in depth here a little bit later. But at its core, that's what an ATS template is. I want to show you how simple it is to create a new ATS template inside of Salesforce when you're using the Asymbl Applicant Tracking System. First, you'd go up to your app launcher up here. You'd search for your templates. You'd find that there's ATS templates right here. I'd open those. and then I'd have to click on to create a new template. And that's it. I'd give it a name. So we'll say demo for YouTube today, and we'll save this new template. Now this is a new screen where I can create a new template inside of my environment. This is what's going to help me move through the right stages at the right time with the right automations. And I want to dig in depth more on that now. The first thing we need to do when creating our ATS template is to define the stages that we want to take individuals through. So let's create a new stages on our demo template here today. First, let's create a new stage where we can call it applicant. And then this will be first in our sequence. Then we have this idea of a stage type. And what a stage type is, it gives you the ability to be a little bit more formulaic in how you create your reports inside of Salesforce. If we reported out on every single stage that you had and where all these applicants are, you might end up having thousands of different stages in your environment. It would make for a messy report. So you have the idea here of creating a stage type. So this helps you keep all of your reporting more organized inside of Salesforce. So for today, the applicant stage is an application type stage, and we're going to create a new one after this. So now let's say after this, we want to take someone from the application to a shortlist. And this will happen second in the sequence. And then after that, they have an internal review. We want to make sure our account team reviews this first. So we'll say it's an internal review. This happens third. And then let's say after an internal review, we want to submit it to the hiring manager. So we'll submit to hiring manager. And this happens fourth in our sequence. And then let's say we need to have an interview. And this is how easy it is to create these new stages. So you can see I'm really quickly firing through. Maybe I'm sending out offers at this point. It's just really, really easy for me to create all of these new stages. And you can see how easy it was to create those inside our ATS template. Once we create our stages, we want to assign what automations we want to occur at these stages. Now, I'm going to show you how easy it is to add what are called ATS actions to each of your stages. So here, let's say at internal review, I want to notify the actual job owner that they have someone new to review. So I'd open this stage, and you can see that there's been no actions here yet. So all I need to do is click to add an action. I need to find my notify job owner action that I have created. And you can see that when I did that, you can see what type of action it is. So here we have that this is a flow action. So what this does is take advantage of the automation engine built inside of Salesforce called flows, and it will send a notification to the job owner, whether it's through Salesforce or through an email or whatever way you designate. It's going to notify the person that owns this job that they have a new candidate to review. So I'm going to add this action here, and I'm going to save it to this stage. And if I wanted to add multiple actions that happen at this particular stage, you can do that. But just to keep it easy for today, we're just going to add one. And then let's say when we submit to hiring manager, we need to email that hiring manager, right? So let's do this. And let's say, I think I have a send email to hiring manager action. And you can see this sends an email. So it shows you what it does at the end. It sends an email. So this isn't a flow. This is just send down an email. And I can add as many of those as I want to these stages. So let's say I needed to actually have one on an interview stage where it schedules an interview for me, and an offer where it creates an offer letter. I can have all of those set up as automations so that when I get to that stage, when I drag someone into that stage, it automates that action. And that's what actions are inside of this ATS template. Third piece that we need to set up on our ATS template is our assignment criteria. And what assignment criteria allows us to do is make sure that the stages that we've created and the hiring process that we've created, complete with those actions and automations that we showed you before, occur on the types of jobs that they're supposed to. So let's say, for example here, that this particular template needs to be used when we're hiring for a particular type of company. So when the company Omega has a new job opening, this is the template you should use. Let me show you how easy it is to do that. So on our job object, things that are related to this job that we're trying to use these stages on, we want to try and find the account. When the account equals Omega, we want to make sure that we use this template. So now when I save this criteria, every single time a new job gets opened at Omega Incorporated, we're going to use these particular stages and automations. We can even add additional complications to this to say that not only when a position opens up at Omega, but when a position opens up at Omega and it's in the accounting group, we can account for that here. See what I did there? You're able to add a condition and say when the job title, let's see if we can find our job title here. When the job title maybe contains accounting. Now, every time an accounting role at Omega comes up, this is the template that will be applied. So you can see how these assignment criteria make sure that your recruiters are following a very specific hiring process that the company requires you to go through. Now, this doesn't have to happen just at companies. You can assign this based on this is how we want to hire if everyone that's working on this job is in Seattle, or everyone that is working on this job happens to be grade 2. I mean, you can set up any different types of related assignment criteria so that you use the templates when you're supposed to in your organization. How about we see these ATS templates in action? What does this look like when you were to apply it in your own environment? Well, let's move to a job that I'm working on today, such as this project manager position right here. You can see that I've got Roman and Stan and Tej here all in my application phase. When I want to move those to more of an internal review stage, it'd be simply me selecting these here. Let's say I want Stan and Tej. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click and I'm going to drag them over to internal review. When I drop them there, you saw that little automation fire, and what it's doing is it's notifying the job owner. The keen-eyed viewers among you may have seen that I have a new notification up here. When I click on that, you can see that I've got new candidates to review because I happen to be the job owner here. So when I click into this, I'm taken to this exact screen I'm already on because it's the same information that everyone has access to. And now I can see that I've got these new candidates for review. Let's say of these, I really like Dominic here, and I want to submit them to the client. I'm going to take Dominic, I'm going to click him, and I'm going to drag him over to submit to client. Now, I had an automation that's set up here that I'm able to actually send this email out to the hiring manager. It's already addressed to the hiring manager, and I have the email already written for me. If he had a resume on his profile, it would automatically be attached here, and then I can just send the email. But today we're going to skip that because I want to show you the next step in this process that I didn't show you before, but I want to show you what's possible with ATS templates. So now let's say I really like Deckard. The client loved Deckard, really wants to interview them. I'd take Deckard, I drag them over to the interview stage, and now an automation pops up where I can create this actual interview. I can say when it's going to be. We'll say it's next Monday, and it happens for an hour. Now, as soon as I click next, it's going to send out scheduling information for all these individuals on their calendar so that they can see when this interview is occurring. So you can see how these automations are set up inside of our system to be able to help us recruit faster. When I'm talking to recruiting firms that are using this ATS feature, I'm hearing time and time again how often it's saving them time in their recruiting process. For example, I met with a executive recruiting firm. They never really had the types of white glove, high touch stages that they needed inside their ATS. With using ATS templates, they were able to design that specific process that they want to take their high profile candidates through in their ATS. So they love the ATS template feature. I also talked to a high volume blue collar recruiting firm that was using ATS templates. And what they told me is that having these very specific automations set up took what was a highly manual, high volume type process that was just slowing them down and made it so that all of the automations could just fire and trigger when candidates got to a certain stage in the process, and it sped their process up by a tremendous amount. So these ATS templates allow you to use the right stages, the right automations at the right time. And again, that's a feature of the Asymbl Applicant Tracking System. If you want to find out more, it's asymbl.com is how you can find this. But I wanted to take you through this ATS template actual object inside of Salesforce because this is saving customers a tremendous amount of time. If you like this kind of content, there is lots more at salesforceforrecruiters.com. My name is Brad Owens. If you have any questions specifically for me that you'd like me to address on one of these episodes, please send them along. The email for me is hello@bradowens.com. Until next time, I want to thank you for watching this episode of Salesforce for Recruiters, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.